I'll tell you one thing about it though, being out here at the undisclosed location where my mother caregiving. I guess it's less caregiving after we had our little talk. After we had our little talk the last time I was here, she was mad at me. Seems to be a little bit more. I'm doing less caregiving and just being here. The reason I came here because my sister asked me to come. I don't know why I'm here. Basically, actually, I do feel number one. I do feel like I need to come out here, quote unquote, more often. To help and support my mother. I do that because I know. I mean, basically, she ain't got much, and to have me, to have been the person who created me, the greatest thing in the universe, you got to kind of give her some, you gotta give her some respect and admiration, and put some work in for her, during this time where she's not, as able and active and as she has been. But she did create, the greatest thing in the universe, me, and for me to come out, the question becomes how much, support is too much because you can become a person's livelihood, their everything, and where they could just give up on the pursuit of life for themselves, and life with you becomes their life. And I'm definitely not that person. I don't know if how if they look at it in the scheme of philosophy, or morality, or what you quote unquote should do. But for me, I will probably be very much likely never, ever, ever want to be or become another person's vehicle to happiness, or or maybe success, but um, happiness or their reason for living and their importance, their everything. You know, a person can step into that role. A person gets to a point where, for whatever reason, they, learn to depend on other people for not just physical stuff like, getting clothes, or, you know, helping them out, move this way, that way, but the psychological, even emotional dependence onto a person, where I'm not saying that's what's happening in this case, but it could be a point where a person will try to pull you into where you become everything to them. You become everything if they get it. My question is, should a person accept that, or is that something that people shouldn't allow? Because if you ask me, if you allow it, you're almost enabling it. And some of the responsibility for motivation of life, reason for living, reason to continue on, shouldn't be from another person, shouldn't come from another person. You're answering questions that I think that healthy and able people have trouble deciding. What it is in life that motivates them, what in life that they want to do. That's a responsibility, if you ask me, of the individual. That's the responsibility, if you ask me, of the responsibility. Did I say responsibility? I'm kind of doing a bunch of stuff. The responsibility of the individual. Nobody should assume that responsibility. There's certain things you have to decide that, ouch, that kind of hurt. You didn't see that, but it kind of fell on me and it hurt. It comes, to where you you have to make decisions. Nobody else can make that decision for you. And some people, I'm sure there's people who would want to, not want to, but try to make that decision for you, and you become that, maybe being aware of it or not. But I ain't the person to be that, to assume certain responsibilities that the individual should make, decide, and create for themselves. So that's that. And, I just think about that. I'm not saying, that's totally applicable, in this situation here with my mother, but This that was just more of a thought experiment about that. But I think, how far do you go? How far do you go? Do you just come in and start breathing for them? I mean, just as a crazy antidote, and not necessarily my mother. If it's somebody in family you want to take care of them, and you got to go in and start breathing for them, is that too much? I mean, that's not life. I mean, I ain't gonna say that's not life, but that's a whole different subject, you could say. But you get to the point where it's like, I'm doing too much for you. You're not even trying to live anymore. You're just trying to associate and be with, quote unquote, me, and you're not even trying life anymore. I'm not going to be your sole means of motivation and entertainment, or entertainment or reason for living. There has to be a line of where, even philosophically, clinically, even religiously, whatever, you say, nope, we can't go that far. That's your responsibility. I'm not going to take that on. And it may just come a time where it's time for you to go. Maybe just time that, you your means and vigor for living are, quote unquote, coming from the wrong places, and that may mean it's just time for you to go. I mean, and like I said, I'm not necessarily applying that to my mother and the situation I'm in now. I'm just saying in general. I took it to another level, in general. Because all of a sudden you start breathing for somebody. Is that too much? It has to be a line. It can't be. It has to be a line. It can't be. Oh no, you do anything. Want to do anything? I'd give anything. I'd do this. I'd give anything. No, I will not. I'll do anything you want. Oh, no. There comes the time where where it's, instead of one person, who's time for them to go, all of a sudden it's two people because you trying to go with them. Basically, you can't go. Simply, that's it. You can't go with them. You can't. They got to go by. That's it. That's it. They can't. You can't go with them. They got to go by themselves. There's certain things they got to do themselves. I think that's the way to put it. I think that's a good put it. Even clinically and religiously, like gurus or Bibles or whatever, has to draw a line someplace. No matter how comforting and um, uh, supportive and altruistic you want to be, there has to be a limit. And you kind of think about that. I don't know why I went down that. Well, I did. I know why I went down that road, because I kind of got on that topic. And now, I was saying just because it seems like me and my mother had a conversation, and I was like, "Look, this ain't gonna be easy." I never said it what it was. I just said this ain't gonna be easy. It's gonna be messy. It's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be hard, but we're gonna have to do it. You know. And I didn't say what it was. I just said it was like that. I don't think she liked that too much. I think she got my point and didn't like it so much. She said she was mad at me. I was like, "You mad at me?" I'm like, "Yes." And she stopped talking to me. That's my job. So I'm Jeffrey Scott Mitchell, and I'm probably not going to go through this, whatever this is, like everybody else. Okay, guaranteed. Guaranteed. I'm probably not going to go through this like everybody else. We're going to go through this head on. We're not going to be diverted or acting like this ain't that or this ain't that. We're going to go after it. It's the only way I know how. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. So that's where we're at. And it seems that, it wasn't, yesterday was pleasant. I didn't feel leaned on as much. Lean on. Yeah, lean on me. Well, yeah, not, no. Lean on me. No. Well, yeah, goddamn. I'm not that person. I'm just not that person. I'm not that lean. I love that song. That's one of the first songs we learned how to play the piano. My grandmother had a red piano in the room outside between the kitchen and the bathroom. It was a red piano. It was one of the first songs I learned how to play. Dun, 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 dun. The other one was Silent Night on a Magnavox organ. Dun, 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 5654. Dun, 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 dun. I remember those numbers, black keys. So yeah, I'm not the person. I'm not the person. I'm Not the person. And I was thinking too, you coming out here, and it's like I want to come out here. I want to spend time with my mother, to be any support that I can be, but I'm not a supporty person. I'm not a supporty. I just made up that word, supporty. I'm not a supporty person. I'm just not wired that way, and I don't care to be. In fact, and objectivism, Rand was on national TV talking to Mike Douglas or somebody, and just flat out said, altruism is evil. I was like, I believe some things. There's definitely some things that I believe in, but to say it that way and that bluntly, I was like, damn, lady. And not only that, since I went through this before with my father, whatever this is, I know there's some things that need to be done. I mean, there were some things that had to be handled, after he passed. So I've had experience with that. So I know there's some things that can be done now to alleviate some stuff to make, the post events easier. And, we got to face them. And yeah, religious, my father's stuff was in probate for 4 years. So, and there was some stuff we could have done to alleviate, like get trust and get that. I'm just saying, there's experience. Like I said, we've been through this before. So I definitely got tangible experience on what is going to need to be done and what needs to happen. And, people that probably don't want to talk about it, I'm prepared now. I'm prepared now for mine. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm prepared now. I'm doing stuff now. I'm looking at my will, looking at my estate, looking at things I want done, this old Jeffrey TV thing, what I want. I want to build this and put it in a place so where it can continue after me. I want to make provisions as much as I can for this to continue. And so I'm looking at stuff now. I'm like where I want to be buried. Like I said, when I went to Napoleon's tomb and I saw that, at first I wanted to be cremated. I'll just cremate me, don't worry about it. But I saw what Napoleon had. I was like, ooh, I want that. I want that. That's how I feel about me. That's how I feel about me. That's the league I put myself in. That's the respect I give myself. Because even though it was in a church or whatever, it was just, you walk in there, it was just, yeah, I was very impressed. I was very, very impressed. So I'm thinking about my estate and, going forward and talking to my daughter, and I got documents and stuff put in place in case, when I pass, for people to, go in there and find this and get access to that. One of the things that did I switch this back? Oh, so I'm getting a email and also too, for some reason, I feel really good.